I am honored to introduce Benitta Stafford Smith, who is a Master Certified Coach. Welcome, Benitta. She is the first Master Certified Coach in the Middle East and an accredited coach supervisor. Benitta has also been an ICF President of the Oman chapter, and she has coached over 5,000 hours with hundreds of clients over 3 continents. She is also a certified systemic team coach. And Benitta, we welcome you, and the floor is yours.
Thank
So,
thank you very much.
welcome.
Can you hear me? We're good? Can
Yes,
you?
yes, we can hear you very well.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, thank you for the invitation to attend your Coachathon. And I'm assuming you've had a fabulous day so far. The session just before me looked very interesting. But my session will be a little bit more practical, I think. So I'm going to talk to you today about the value of the ICF Credential and ICF. So I am a proud credentialed coach. First thing I want you to know. And today my presentation is going to be from 3 perspectives. First of all, that I'm a proud master certified coach. Second of all, that I manage a coaching practice for an HR consultancy, and I only hire coaches with an ICF credential. And I also am an accredited coach supervisor, and I work both with external and internal coaches, individually and in groups. So that gives me great insight into the value of hiring an ICF credentialed coach. And I'd like everyone to really think about how much more complex coaching has become today. I started my coach training in 1990. It was pretty simple. There was individual coaching. But coaching has really evolved since then. So today I'd like to talk a little bit about that evolution and what the International Coach Federation and the coaching profession has done to meet that evolution. So I will begin. And by the way, I'm just, anytime you have a question during this presentation, please stop and ask. I would love to hear from you. That would be absolutely amazing. So please, any questions, stop and ask me anytime. So I will start with a little bit of an overview of what is the International Coaching Federation. It is 38,000 members in 145 countries. There's 33,000 credential holders worldwide. And there's 140 chapters in 80 countries. So behind every credential coach that you see standing in front of you and every ICF member that you see standing in front of you, there's 38,000 people behind them and 140 chapters. So it gives you an idea of the scope that your credentialed coach will bring to you as a buyer of coaching or as a professional coach. Now, first of all, the difference between a member and an ICF credentialed coach. An ICF member has to have the foundational level of coach specific training, which I'm going to show you what it is in a moment. And credential holders must adhere to the ICF Code of Ethics. Now, I bring up the Code of Ethics because I believe that as a buyer of coaching services, this is really important to you, and also as a credentialed coach. Notice that at the International Coach Federation, ethical coaching is our top priority, and it's designed to provide appropriate guidelines, accountability, and enforceable standards of conduct for all ICF members and credential holders. That's why I think the Code of Ethics is so important to you as a buyer of coaching and as a professional coach. So there is a committee called the Ethical Conduct, we actually call it a board, the Ethical Conduct Review Board, which provides a forum where individuals can bring complaints about breaches of the ICF Code of Ethics by either ICF members or ICF credential holders. And those Code of Ethics were expanded in January 2020 to meet the changes in the evolution of coaching. So this Code of Ethics provides protection for you as a consumer of coaching and also for you as a professional coach. So are there any questions from the buyers of coaching on this call on how the Code of Ethics protects you?
I'm seeing the questions now. We don't have a question yet, but we
Okay.
did discuss this in the panel discussion, how important it is to abide by the code of ethics and to be a professional coach, and how important it is to be trained and credentialed, and how that makes like a huge difference. So yeah.
Good. So the buyers of coaching understand the value that this brings. Excellent. Thank you. So what's an ICF credential coach mean? What makes a credentialed coach? A coach who demonstrates the knowledge, skill, and commitment to high ethical and professional standards. So this commitment is not only to their coaching, but to the coaching industry as a whole, which I think is also really important to you as buyers of coaching and as credential holders. So let's look a little bit about what does it take to be a member of ICF, to have all these 38,000 people standing behind you. You have to have the required training, and you have to agree to abide by the code of ethics. And I'd like to mention this a little bit here about internal coaches. And I'm hoping there are some internal coaches on this call, because quite often an organization doesn't understand the value of a membership, but the internal coaches do. And so I would encourage you as an internal coach to understand that this offers great benefits to you. One of the really important benefits, I think, is the cutting edge research that you have access to and that you can share with your organization. And I'm going to go over that in a little bit more depth a little later on. There's also discounts, which we always like discounts on your applications and your renewals for your credential. So those are important things. There's networking and professional development opportunities for internal coaches. So these are important things to remember. The ICF membership is not just for external coaches, it's also for internal coaches, which is one of the changes we're seeing in the coaching industry. So are there any internal coaches on the call today? Anybody here that's an internal coach?
There are some internal coaches.
Yay, excellent. Good to know, because you have I think internal coaching, which is really a new branch of the coaching profession, but I think you have some really interesting challenges working internally as a coach that external coaches sometimes don't see. So I'll look forward to some of your questions later on as we go through this presentation. Internal coaches, this is important for you, and external coaches and buyers of coaching. There's a credential coach finder. Please make sure you have a listing coaches there, because that's how your clients can find you. And make sure to update that profile. So if you complete a new piece of education or you take on a new specialty, make sure you update this so that the buyers of coaching can find you. Saves them some time in their search for the right coach for their needs. So why is an ICF credential important to me? It's really important to me, by the way, as a certified coach and as a buyer of coaching. So did you go over these differences already?
No, it's a good idea to have them. It's really good.
So sometimes when a coach appears in your office to talk to you about coaching, or you're on a call with a coach and they say, oh, I'm an ACC or a PCC or an MCC, and you go, well, I don't really know what that means. So this chart will show you what the difference is between, it's just different levels of experience. So you'll see the difference in the coach training hours 60 hours, 125, and 200. And then the number of coach experience hours that you need to have to apply for that credential level, 100, 500, and 2,500. So there's a big difference between a starting coach with 100 hours and a very experienced coach with 2,500 or more hours. It doesn't mean one's better than the other. It just means they have more experience, by the way. What they have in common is that each of these levels, you have to have 10 hours of mentor coaching. You have to pass an online knowledge assessment, a competency knowledge assessment exam, and you have to submit coaching sessions that will be assessed by someone who's a credential level higher than you. So when I say I am proud to be a master certified coach, I want you to know that was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work. And we say very lightly that you're assessed and there's exams, but I don't know about anybody else on this call, but for me, that when people say you have an exam or you will be assessed, that often applies a little pressure to me. So those buyers of coaching, I just want you to understand the different credential levels. So when people present with a credential, you know what they're talking about. Any questions on this before I go forward?
No, I don't see any questions here.
Okay. So that's the requirements for that, but what does it really mean in ICF Credential? So it is really a recognition of excellence. This is the most important thing for you to know as a credentialed coach and as a buyer of coaching. So credentialed coaches are part of a self-regulating group of elite coaches who provide accountability to clients and the coaching profession as a whole. So their credibility is not just to use the buyer, it's also to our profession of coaching. This is really important. And that they pursue rigorous education and practice requirements, which I've just gone over, that you can verify at any time. That provides legitimacy to their commitment to excellence in coaching. There's on the Coach Federation website, there's lots of information about the ICF Credential if you want to pursue that further. So we know there's a commitment to excellence, but why do consumers care about that? Why do the buyers of coaching care about that? So in some of the in the 2017 ICF Global Consumer Awareness Study, we found that those who had been in a coaching relationship, 83% said that a certification or credential is important. 83%. And for those aware of coaching but had not been in a coaching relationship, 76% considered a certification or credentialing important. So coaches, this might be a heads up to you to think about that credential. And what about satisfaction, again, from the 2017 Consumer Awareness Study? 88% of consumers who participated in a coaching relationship said they were satisfied. That jumped up to 94% when those who participated in the coaching relationship were with a credentialed coach. So we see a substantial increase there. And by the way, I want to say here that I am talking about the ICF Credential because I think it's really important and I am really proud of it. This is not to say that someone who doesn't have a credential isn't a really good coach. The difference is it's not verifiable. So someone may have been coaching for 30 years and maybe a great coach. And for some reason, they just haven't gone through the effort to apply for a credential. It doesn't mean they aren't a good coach. It just means you can't verify it. So, and I think me as a person who hires coaches, this is really important to me. I want to know that the coaches I hire have that commitment to their profession. I don't hire a coach who doesn't have a credential.
May I say something here?
Yes.
It's important that we are seeing our market here in Greece changing, and in the last years, many more buyers are asking about accreditation, training, and which did not happen 10 years ago.
Yes.
So there is a change, there is a shift also here for more training and more accreditation.
Excellent.
And we
Yeah,
just
that's
had a
excellent.
comment. Yeah, and we just had a comment, not a question, because we're using the Conference.com, the application for questions, and that it says very useful information about internal coaches and credentials. Thank you. So
You're
just
welcome.
wanted you to know.
You're welcome. Yeah. And you know, this is another evolution, by the way, that we're seeing in coaching, is that the buyers of coaching are becoming more educated. Before, they didn't really know what it meant. Now the buyers are getting very educated and they know what they're looking for. So they've had enough experience now. So I'm really glad to hear that that's happening in your marketplace in Greece. And for coaches, by the way, coaches listen, because compared to a peer without a credential, you can usually command higher fees. Ta-da! And you usually have more clients and a greater annual revenue from coaching. Now, I'm going to say quite often that's because usually you do more coaching than anything else in your practice. But the higher fees are there for a reason, because of the assurance that your buyer gets. They're willing to pay the higher fees. They understand the value of that. I hope. I'll say I hope. I can't speak for all the buyers of coaching in Greece. Another important thing to know about a credentialed coach is that the credential pathways provide a good foundation for coaching excellence, and they encourage CPD, which is continual professional development, which is ongoing learning and reflective practices that enhance the capacity to deliver professional coaching. So for buyers of coaching or people who don't have a credential yet, once you've been successful in reaching a credential level, it's good for 3 years. It's not good for the rest of your life. Right? You have to renew every 3 years, and you have to have a CPD in between and mentor coaching in between to renew or to apply for a new application level. So this is very important for the buyers of coaching to be aware of also, because again, it's not a forever, oh, I did it once and that's it. It's every 3 years, your coaches get more educated. They become, their capacity for professional coaching is enhanced and developed. Okay, so now I have some questions for you, audience. I have a question on why you maintain your credential. So it's great to get it. It's wonderful to get your credential, but why do you maintain it? And while you're thinking about that, the other question, feel free to answer either one. Why do you encourage coaches starting out to join ICF, if you do encourage them, or to join any certification body for coaching? It's a lot of work and a lot of money, coaches. Why do you do it?
In Greece, we have about 50 to 60 accredited coaches, so we're a really small market still.
Well, compared to Oman, that's big, by the way. We have 16 in Oman, and we're excited about that.
Okay.
Yes.
And the way we have organized this today is that we are on a different Zoom as speakers, and the audience is on a different Zoom, so they communicate mostly with questions. So you have some questions for them, but they also have some questions for you.
Is there any questions I can answer?
Yeah, and I have a question here. The core competencies and PCC markers have been revised, and there is some anxiety for new coaches to obtain their ACC credentials soon under the old system. What changes essentially, and would the exams be more strict under the new system?
Excellent question. Thank you. So the changes to the core competencies. So we've gone from 11 core competencies. We've streamlined that to 8 core competencies. So they're less complicated. But the primary difference is there is fundamentally is not a big change in the coaching competencies. What has changed is that it's an evolution of the competencies rather than a replacement. So if you look closely, coaching presence is still there, asking questions is still there. If you look at the competencies, they're still there, but they're streamlined and the language is different. So the old coaching competencies used to be passive, and the new coaching competencies are active. They're all active verbs. So please put your anxiety aside. You will be just fine. If you know the core competencies, the old ones or the new ones, you will be absolutely fine. It's about how you deliver on those competencies. And again, it's an evolution. It's not a revolution.
Yeah. Yeah, true. And there is also another question. Coaching is still an unregulated profession globally. How would you comment on that?
I would say unregulated by governments, maybe, but not unregulated by so I think that's the power of the International Coaching Federation, because it offers some regulation to the industry. It's not a legal regulation. You don't have to have a credential to coach. That's why we say it's self-regulating. So the coaches are people who stand up to their profession, who stand up to excellence in coaching, who stand up to their code of ethics that protect their consumers. That's the regulation we see in the coaching industry, in my opinion.
Yeah. And in one of the global surveys, I think this was one of the biggest threats to the industry. Also, the fact that it's unregulated globally.
Yes, and it could be a threat, but it also could be an opportunity. In Oman, which is a very small country, really very small country, and it's a new chapter. But one of the things we've been working on with the government here is to have the ICF core competencies recognized as the standard for someone to call themselves a coach, because this is not a democracy. It's a very regulated country. And so we could do that. There's benefits to that. And it could end up being detrimental in the long run. But we're pretty excited about the possibility of having the core competencies recognized as the industry standard for this new profession called coaching in Oman.
Yeah, well, which is a good idea because it helps.
Yeah, hopefully, because one of the things we struggle with is people who call themselves coaches but have never had any coach training. They can spell the word and that's about it. They're really trainers who now call themselves coaches, and they're very different professions. This is what we're facing in Oman. I'm talking about. So this would be a great differentiator.
And this is happening, I think, all over, and it also is happening here in Greece because many people have left their companies and they were previously executives or previously trainers or previously consultants, and they have added the term coach. Yes. And executive coach, and that makes a lot of confusion in the market.
Yes. And I think that's the exciting thing also about our code of ethics, because our code of ethics says it's our responsibility as credentialed coaches to educate our client on what those credentials mean. And if we have several roles, if we're also training, I might have an engagement with one organization where I'm coaching, where I'm training, where I might be doing some team building. And so it's my responsibility to make sure that that client knows the difference between those. So when I'm coaching, this is my role and responsibility. When I'm training, this is my role and responsibility. It's a really important differentiator in the new code of ethics. And I think that's really going to do a lot for the buyers of coaching to understand the difference.
Yeah.
So is there more questions or shall I go on?
I think at this point, I think there is no other question. So you can go on.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for asking questions, coaches and buyers of coaching.
Oh, there is one now.
Oh, okay.
What qualities should an ideal ICF coach have or obtain?
Qualities. You know, I've met tens of thousands of coaches literally during my time in ICF. And I'm going to say that there's not a set of standard qualities because it depends what the coach's specialty is. So I've seen a big difference between someone whose specialty is grief counseling, grief coaching, than someone who's an executive coach. The underlying fundamental thing I always see with coaches is curiosity. No matter what they're doing, they're curious people and continuous learners. But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean if you're not curious and not a continuous learner, you can't be a coach. I'm just sharing what I've seen most often. But I see different qualities depending on the specialty the coach offers.
Interesting.
And I guess, you know, I'll put a caveat around that in that I've been coaching for many years. And one of the things I've learned over my career of coaching is I'm not going to take lawyers as clients. I am not the right coach for lawyers. It's just, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm missing a gene. I don't know. It's not in my DNA, but I know for a fact that I'm not the right coach for lawyers. And so if I'm approached by an organization where they want one of their clients to be coached who's a lawyer, I always refer another coach who loves working with lawyers, because there's coaches that love that. So I think it's really important for us to recognize that as professional coaches.
Where we are at our best.
Yes. Yeah, we can't expect the client to know that. We have to know that we are the professionals. We offer excellence. So make sure it's excellence. I don't want to provide coaching to lawyers because I'm not very good at it. That's simple. Okay, I'll go ahead a little bit because I'm trying to be aware of the time. So I would like to talk about the future. I've talked a little bit about the present. And because I think the coaching profession is changing so much, I want to talk about how credentials are leading the future and how ICF is leading the future. So the core competencies, as we've already discussed, were updated or revised, or whatever we want to call it, evolved in 2021. But to show that how ICF stands behind their members, I'd like to remind everyone that we put in place temporary measures for membership renewal and credential applications in line with COVID-19 impact on business. So, you know, we're thinking about the industry as a whole and the people in the industry. I would also like you to know that ICF coaches have been stepping up in this pandemic, offering pro bono coaching engagements for frontline workers. And this is something I commonly see, by the way, with coaches, that they're very generous people also. And ICF has recognized that by increasing the number of eligible hours of pro bono coaching for credential applicants. So we're always trying to be abreast of what's happening in the industry and offering that value to not only our members, but our credential holders, our members, and the buyers of coaching. Something new and exciting, folks, coaching specialties, which you will see. I believe this, some pre-information has gone out to chapter leaders, and I'm not sure if it's gone out to all the members, but if it hasn't, you'll see it in a couple of days. So the Credentials and Standards Board, which I happen to be the chair of this year, which is why I'm so excited about this, we have a new pathway for credentialed coaches, and we're calling it an ICF coaching specialty. So we're starting with team coaching competencies, which you will see released soon. And this is a bonus to what we're trying to do is recognize the coach's journey throughout their coaching. So yes, it's fabulous to have a credential, but we do so many more things as coaches. As I said earlier, we each have specialties, and recognizing that specialty, I think, is really, really important for the coach and for the buyer of coaching. So this again will give that buyer of coaching a verifiable way to understand what that means. I am a team coach, because anybody can say they're a team coach. So this is a set of competencies. And again, the research has been done. There'll be assessments and there'll be training and all those wonderful things that come with it, with the credential, but this is a specialty on top of a credential. So for buyers, this is good news, I think, and for coaches, this is really good news because it gives you that recognition of your coaching specialties. So any questions about that new offering from the Credentials and Standards, the coaching specialties?
I have a question that this team coaching trainings that are accredited already exist. So the team coaching competencies, which I think came out a few weeks ago, and they were sent by the PCC assessors community also.
Mm-hmm.
There will be like a next step, because now we have team coaching trainings that are accredited by the ICF.
Yes.
But the new thing is that we're having team coaching competencies.
Yes.
Which we didn't have.
Yes.
So there will be some kind of bridging there, I guess.
Yeah, there'll be, so one of the family organizations in ICF is coach training. So coach training and credentials are working together now on what needs to happen for the providers of the accredited providers of team coaching already. And I'm going to guess it won't be much of an adjustment, but I don't work in the coach training department, so I don't know. I just know that credentials and coach training are speaking about that already, and there'll be the assessment and the training will not be as in depth, obviously, as because you already have coaching competencies, so you already know how to coach. So if it's team coaching, the specialty is just about coaching a team. It's not about coaching credentials. There's a difference, right? And this is really important for people to understand. You need to have coaching credentials already, so you already know how to coach. You're just adding this on top.
Yeah.
So yes, there'll be more coming on that. The competencies have been released, but there'll be lots more of announcements coming. We'll keep you in the loop, don't worry. Remember, I want to remind you that the team coaching competencies hold to the same gold standard as the coaching competencies. So there was 18 months of research that happened before releasing the team coaching credentials, or the team coaching competencies, I should say, not credentials. So we'll go through the same rigorous research as the foundational coaching credentials. But the important thing to know about these new specialties is that it recognizes the professional coach's journey. It makes it easier for the buyers to verify that. Ready to go further? Any more questions before we go on? How are we doing for time? We're good?
Yeah.
No questions? Okay. So I want to talk about all that stuff that stands behind the coaches and the members of ICF. There is, sometimes we forget how important that is, but this is, I think, particularly important for buyers of coaching and for those who are supporting the excellence in the profession of coaching. So here's a quick snapshot of what ICF has just gone through, a reorganization. And we now have 6 family organizations that you see revolving around this middle. And the middle is the shared services, the legal, the financial, all those things that everybody shares, marketing, communication. But now we've got 6 family organizations dedicated just to certain parts of the profession of coaching. So the ICF Professional Coaches is not new. These are the chapters across the world that ICF Greece is part of. I noticed that you're a chartered chapter, by the way, so congratulations on that. So you are already part of the ICF Professional Coaches Family Organization. The ICF Foundation has been around for, I don't know, quite a while. But I can't remember how many years, but the ICF Foundation is the family organization that equips professional coaches and organizations to accelerate and amplify impact on social progress through coaching. This is so important. Did ICF Greece, I'm sure some of your coaches have participated in the Foundation's Ignite program in the past, which connect the United Nations educational goals with pro bono coaching. Again, we really, as professional coaches and as a professional coaching body, we really believe that coaching can impact society, not just individuals. So when you see an ICF Credential coach, this is one of the things they stand for. We have a new family organization called ICF Thought Leadership, which is it's in startup phase, which I'm very excited about, because this family organization is created to influence the future of coaching. So we're going to see some fascinating research coming out of here. We'll see. They'll have a diverse range of stakeholders. They'll have researchers, innovators, technologists, venture capitalists, press and media, and influencers. So I think that will be a really interesting resource for coaches to tap into and to share information with their organizations on the future of coaching, because the future of coaching is based on the future of what? Business and individual needs, right? So I think I'm really excited about thought leadership, actually. Coaching in Organizations is also a new family that's starting up, and that will focus simply on coaching in organizations. And this is one of the big differences in coaching today. When I started coaching in the 1990s, I know it was a long time ago, there was individual coaching. That's all there was. Nobody thought about anything else. We didn't think about coaching teams or groups. And now we're going to have a whole body, a family organization in ICF dedicated just to coaching in organizations, because one of the important skills we see that leaders and managers need today is coaching skills. They may never become professional coaches, but they need coaching skills. And internal coaches, as I said earlier, for the internal coaches on the call, man, I got to give you guys credit, because coaching inside an organization is very different than being an external coach. I do both, so I really understand the difference between those two. And coaching in organizations is going to support the internal coaches and the team leaders and managers who are using coaching skills, and companies that want to build coaching cultures, of course. ICF Credential Standards, which I'm proud to be chair of this year, and proud of the work we've done with the new core competencies and the coaching specialties and the code of ethics. And ICF Coach Training, which existed previously, and of course works together. We all work together very closely because we impact each other, right? I mean, obviously anything that coaching in organizations does will affect credentials and standards and coach training. So these families, I'll just go back one slide. So it's a circle. We're not separate entities. It's a family of organizations working for the benefit of the coaching profession. So when you see that coach standing in front of you, this is what I hope you see. Not just that person, but what comes behind them. So is there any questions about this new organization before I go on? Oops, sorry. No? Okay.
Not yet.
So just remember, buyers of coaching, this is what you're getting, a whole family. The other really important thing for buyers of coaching and for coaches, I believe, is industry research. So ICF invests a lot of time and effort and funds in industry research to demonstrate the highly effective nature of coaching. You know, we hear a lot of talk about what's the return on investment, what's the return on experience, and our research is aimed at providing that kind of information to you as a coach and to you as a buyer of coaching. And as an ICF member or an ICF credentialed coach, this also gives you fresh knowledge of what's happening in the industry. So you can make decisions around your coaching business with that information in hand. I just wanted to give you a brief highlight of some of the research that was done this year in 2020. I'm not going to go through all the research that's ever been done, believe me. but we partnered with the PricewaterhouseCoopers for the 2020 Global Coaching Study. And this one quantifies the size and value of the coaching industry worldwide and regionally. So there's some really interesting statistics in there about the coaching industry. And this information is a credentialed coach can download the executive summary or the full report and share that with their clients. And if the buyers of coaching just want to do it independently, you can certainly purchase it. But work with your credentialed coach and your ICF member to get this kind of research in your hand. Now that research was concluded just before COVID, so we just released another research report on COVID-19 and the coaching industry. So what's the impact been of the pandemic on the coaching industry worldwide? It's that also, I think, is a fascinating survey or research that for coaches and organizations or buyers of coaching. And we also partner with the Human Capital Institute on building a coaching culture. And we do that. There's a new report in 2020 that updates prior studies. But this shows you the components of strong coaching cultures and how organizations use coaching to achieve strategic objectives. This is really important, I think, to organizations who are purchasing coaching. So again, those research reports are contact your ICF credentialed coach or your ICF member and get them to give you a copy. Or if you want to buy it, feel free to purchase it from the website. I don't want to discourage you from spending money. Any questions about that research before? How are we doing for time? We have 4 more minutes. Yes. Any questions about that before we go further?
There aren't questions about that. There is a question on the competencies and the application of the new competencies and when the
okay. Go ahead.
What the date is for the application of the new competencies.
The assessment and the new CKA we expect to be released second quarter of 2021. So until then, you'll still be using the 11 core competencies. Then the new competencies will be fully effective in, and I believe it's the second quarter of 2021.
Okay.
But remember, it's an evolution, not a revolution.
Yeah, I know. I train internal coaches and we're using the new competencies and it's an enriching an enrichment in a way.
Yeah, I really like the new competencies.
Yeah, me too, especially the being of the coach, which is really nice. Yeah.
It was there before, but it wasn't, now it's just emphasized more. The being and the doing are differentiated a little bit more. So I really like that. And I like the active tense. Coaching is an active.
Yeah, and it's a little bit more easy to read and to understand, I think, the new version.
Yes. Yeah, I forget, we reduced it something, I forget the number of words. It was reduced by something like 300 words were taken out.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't remember how many it was, but it's streamlined. Yeah. And was there another question about the competencies and the applications?
There is a comment like that coaching specialties will also enable coaches to identify their specialty.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a huge benefit, again, for the coaches to be able to just easily verify for their clients. This is why I call myself a team coach. Here's the competencies. Here's the training. Here's what I've done. I think that's a real benefit to coaches and the buyers of coaching.
Yeah.
I think to both. Any other questions?
Until now, I guess not.
Okay. So just a reminder to everyone about the Coach Federation, the International Coaching Federation website. You can get detailed information on the Code of Ethics. And by the way, the video series there is as excellent in explaining the Code of Ethics, both for coaches and for buyers of coaching.
Okay.
You will soon see the same in the credentialing. We're working on a series of videos, so you'll see that. If you have questions about training programs, if you're looking for a training program, there's also a search service for training programs. And very importantly, the Credential Coach Finder. Make sure you have your profile listed, coaches, because those buyers are looking for you. And this is an easy way to find them.
And these videos, they are new?
The ethics are, they're only a couple of months old.
So maybe it's a good idea that we can put them on our site as well.
Yeah, they're really, really good videos. And there's something there called water cooler conversations. And that sometimes doesn't translate well in different cultures. But, water cooler is just really people going to make a cup of coffee and having a chat. So it's those kinds of, it's not formal questions, but it's like, oh, what does that really mean? Something that you would ask over a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. So that's another really good resource on the site.
Okay, that's good to know.
And you'll see this for credentials. I can't tell you when, just you'll see it soon.
Okay.
I don't remember the date.
We'll be looking for it.
Okay, so I think that brings us bang on to my time.
Yeah.
Yes, so is there any questions before we close that I can answer that we didn't get to?
I think we've answered all the questions that we have here from what I see.
Okay. Well, then I will close by saying thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to ICF Greece chapter.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I think it has been completely useful. And to hear this part, like for the ICF, the credentialing, that we are really in this effort also in Greece to, to make this stronger.
Yes, be proud, because we have lots to be proud of. We really do.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you someplace sometime. Take care.
Thank you, Benitta.